they do pick up things directly from NCERTs. While reading NCERTs, one problem which comes, especially for ancient and medieval, is that it's not really in the form of a story. So new aspirants, if they really don't have an idea about, what is happening or what will happen after this, so they don't know how to connect to it. Now, how we've brought in those classes is we brought them timeline-wise. That systematic flow, if you go through that, the NCERTs will become very simple. Picking content only from the NCERT so that, when somebody goes back to study that, they will have a reference. They'll know, okay, what is the scope, where I'm reading, and they'll be able to connect and understand that better.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of VisionIAS related to NCERT classes for UPSC Civil Service exam. And to discuss about it, we have today an esteemed faculty of VisionIAS, Jasmine Ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, before we start, this is something which I have heard, and I think almost every UPSC aspirant has heard from their starting preparation phase itself, that do NCERTs. NCERTs are important. Do these NCERTs. So, what is so fundamentally important about NCERT that they have become a must starter for UPSC examination?
I think from the point of starting, one significant advantage which NCERTs have is that they're going to be simpler than any other source which is written specifically for the UPSC exam. And also, we've all already read that at some point of time. So 6th standard NCERT for a graduate, it's going to be something which will make sense for him. So that's one reason why you start from there, because that's going to be a simpler source that's written for an 11-year-old. So you will not have any problem with following that NCERT. The second thing is in terms of course, questions. Ultimate goal is that to do something for the purpose of exam. So from the purpose of the exam, if we have to, get a broader sense of the syllabus or what all things UPSC will be asking, that zone is around the NCERT books only. That zone is around the syllabus which NCERT has defined for the school. Of course, you can have a lot of applications of that. You can go up to an advanced level in that. But that is all that is in terms of topics. So that's where you start. And there have also been direct questions, especially when it comes to examples of different times. They do pick up things directly from NCERTs because they also know this for a point that a lot of people will not be studying that, or a lot of people will be, missing this out and maybe going into another source. So that's like one thing which ideally in a good preparation you should not be missing out.
And if especially we talk about history, I think every year there is at least a one or two question directly from NCERT.
Definitely. Like if there is like a movement or a temple which is they've asked, so it's not there anywhere, you'll know, okay, it will be there in the NCERT book for sure.
So ma'am, now talking about history, this is a subject you have taken, ancient and medieval.
Yeah.
So for ancient and medieval, how important are NCERTs?
So ancient and medieval history is, as a subject, it is very, very important, and a lot of people don't really put in a lot of attention to it because they feel that maybe less number of questions would come, and I would say that was a trend a few years ago. Now that scenario is slightly shifting more, because earlier what was happening was they were asking more on art and culture, less on the history part, but now that has changed. So every year we are seeing, the last few years, 3 or 4 questions also, sometimes from ancient and medieval history combined, they are being asked. So in that sense, we have to prepare this, and how we have to prepare it, NCERT is a very, very good source. Especially if we look at, the NCERTs of class 11th and 12th. They give you so much information, they give you so much data, and you have direct terms being asked from there. Like there was this question which was asked on James Prinsep. So he is the one who had found out about Ashoka. So that's exactly the name of the NCERT chapter, right? So if we are able to evaluate that, if you're just able to look at how questions are being framed and how many questions are being framed, then of course the importance of NCERTs are going to be reflected. Along with this, I also feel that even if art and culture is there, or art and culture is going to be asked in mains also. To understand that also, you can't do it without that basic idea of the NCERT or the basic idea of ancient and medieval history. So it has to be done. This is something which should not be missed.
And we at VisionIAS also understand the importance of NCERT, ma'am, right? So we have brought these classes for NCERT, right? So why then there is a need for classes for covering NCERTs?
So, see, ancient and medieval, like I told you, and of course you also already know this, that a lot of people don't like to study this. And one reason is that maybe, you know, they don't understand a lot of it, or they don't connect a lot with it. Like modern Indian history is a little bit easier to connect, you know, because we all know about Gandhiji, we all know about that freedom struggle, but we maybe don't know a lot about what was happening in the Vedic period. So we have made this attempt to really simplify that. It's a small collection, it's a short course. The classes duration also, we've kept it very, very less. So all classes are less than 90 minutes, just to make sure that that fresh aspirant, you know, starting this preparation, like you said, we start with NCERTs, he's going to be very comfortable. And while reading NCERTs, one problem which comes, especially for ancient and medieval, is that it's not really in the form of a story. It's more in the form of themes, that okay, one idea will talk about all the kingdoms, one will talk about the social structure, one chapter will talk about it. So new aspirants, if they really don't have an idea about, you know, what is happening or what will happen after this, so they don't know how to connect to it. Now, how we've brought in those classes is we brought them timeline wise. So we talk about the early man, then how he brings agriculture, how he brings cities, how kingdom comes, how more kingdoms come, what is the point of quarrel. And that systematic flow, if you go through that, the NCERTs will become very simple. The NCERTs will make sense, and whatever content you read beyond that also. Like if you want to go into reading another reference book specifically for the UPSC exam, that will make sense. So it is going to give you the logic also for everything. A lot of people feel that history is a lot of cramming. But that's what we've tried to do differently in these classes. We've tried to explain everything. That okay, if a city was set up here, why was that city set up here? That makes it, I think, very easy to understand. So just going through that will be very, very helpful. And anybody who has a fear of this subject, that's going to definitely go away after this.
Ma'am, you have covered ancient and medieval in these classes.
Yeah.
So how you have made understanding easier for a person who is just starting this preparation?
So first of all, of course, the number of classes are not too many, right? We have around 1 hour so of classes, so 10 classes around that. So that means less than 15 hours in total. So that is, I think, one thing which is an attempt to simplification. The other thing is we've not emphasized a lot on, you know, learning or cramming or fact kind of things, that okay, learn the name of these 20 temples, but in the sense that you get the overall broader flow. Okay, so for a fresh aspirant, I think that's a very significant point, that it has to be simplified. It doesn't need to be very technical. Like if I teach somebody who is a graduate in history, my approach will be different from somebody who's not studied history since class 10th. Right? So that's the idea which has been maintained here, that NCERTs, because you know the term itself expects, when you say I'm going to teach NCERT, that means it has to be simplified. It is targeting that beginner, right? So simplification in terms of terminology, picking content only from the NCERT, so that you know, when somebody goes back to study that, they will have a reference. They'll know, okay, what is the scope, where I'm reading, and they'll be able to connect and understand that better.
Ma'am, like now we have covered content adequately for NCERT, but are we giving something beyond content for classes in these NCERT classes?
So I'm a very firm believer of you know, evaluation or testing or questions for everything which you read. For NCERTs also, you know, I would always recommend all the aspirants that read your NCERT chapter, do the questions behind that. Without questions, the story is incomplete. But those questions, you know, might not entirely be relevant from the sense of the exam. So VisionIAS is now adding or bridging that gap also. They are going to give you quizzes. They are going to give you, you have NCERT Sandhan also, to have questions dedicated from the NCERT for the purpose of the exam. and you'll find them topic wise. So whatever topic you're studying, like you've studied about the Vijayanagar Empire, so you do questions on Vijayanagar Empire. That kind of helps you evaluate that, okay, have I followed or not, you know, or okay, this is how UPSC is going to ask me questions, so I need to focus on these kind of things, these kind of aspects. Along with that, of course, class summaries are available because once you are done with this whole thing, you would also want to go back and revise it also, right? Otherwise, it doesn't get retained. So that revision summary will also be available.
So ma'am, if we like summarize the crux of this whole classes for NCERT, what outcomes students can expect after they are done with these classes?
So I would like to suggest an approach also first. How do you approach it? I think the starting point should be the class. And along with the class, like you listen to the class first, then you look at your NCERT. That will make it a little easier to get sense of that NCERT also. So you take the classes, do the NCERT, solve the questions behind the NCERT, then quiz yourself, right? That's going to be the way you are going to take it. And expected outcomes would be that you will find yourself to be in a position that you will be able to solve a lot of questions. That's the end goal, that, you know, can I answer questions in the exam? And then after that, of course, they are expected to do multiple revisions of this whole thing, so that then they can go into the next level of, you know, like giving proper UPSC prelims and mains tests.
And ma'am, I believe like now, especially for ancient and medieval, although there is no end of history, but the questions that will come, mostly they could easily be done from NCERT, and if they are not being done from NCERT, then it's like there is the content hunting for ancient and medieval is not that much advisable, and NCERTs are really crux for it.
Yeah, that's actually very reasonable, because there is no end to sources, right? So you have to think about how many questions you are thinking about here, right? So if there are 3 questions, 4 questions, of course those 3 and 4 questions are your edge if others are not doing it, right? But does that mean that you can study it from 5 places? No. That cost benefit analysis will not play out. So do your NCERTs well, not just for the purpose of ancient and medieval history questions specifically, but art and culture will not make sense if you don't know that. The main part of you know, writing questions, where there are always 2-3 questions in around this area, that you will not understand if you have not done that properly.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for guiding our aspirants. So aspirants, I hope now you have a good idea about NCERT classes by VisionIAS for UPSC Civil Service exam, and if you want to know more about it, please do visit our website. Thank you.